Used to happen to me.
Okay, you're all set. Council Moore, you're all set.
Call the September meeting of the city infrastructure committee to order at 5 p.m. A roll call of members. Councilor Moore present. Councilor Canales.
Here.
Councilor Kelly.
Here.
Mayor Rosencrantz.
Here.
All right, at this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the August 2nd infrastructure committee meeting. Motion by Councilor Canales, second by Councilor Kelly. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Minutes are approved. Community development, street redesign for Margaret Rickerhoffen Court. This is a presentation.
Actually, two presentations, but Mike, Andrew, would you like to introduce the folks from CNS? Sure.
And to preface this, as most of you all know, Brinkerhoff, Court Street, and Margaret are in pretty rough shape these days. Considering an amount of touring money that we have, I asked both the CDO office as well as DPW to reach out to respective plan design engineer contacts and to essentially just submit a proposal for the redesign and engineering plan for Margaret from Cornelia to Broad Street, from Brinkerhoff from Margaret all the way up to Beekman, and from Court Street from Beekman to City Hall Place, which would include Lower Court Street here. So that's essentially what they're going to be offering up tonight.
So we've invited CNS's team here. They worked on a few projects for us, most notably Cogan Avenue and the PSAP grant. So I'm going to throw it over to Todd, Kelly, Kelsey, and Jim and let them give their presentation.
Ready? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jim Francis, CNS. I'm just going to kick off a little bit of the presentation here, and I'll turn it over to the heavy hitters behind me who do most of the talking. But I gotta say, this is a really exciting project for us to be a part of. We invited to, participate in this process is extraordinary. I think, we know all the history behind the street and behind it. See the classical ghost stories that were always on Facebook. They have photo after photo after photo. But for me personally, Margaret Street was my walking path for many, many years. I moved here in 1998. Came up from Virginia. Transferred was with Skansky to work at the pharmaceutical plant. First lived right on Margaret Street, actually, 204 to be specific. And a few years after that, got a house on Wilshire Place. Met a girl up here that kind of kept me here because we were both out of town. And I never looked back. Margaret Street was always, where we went to go for a walk. It's a really cup of coffee with a coffee cat. Walk down a little bit further, maybe get a quick bite to eat, but bite to eat, go down the water, hang a turn, come right back around the other side and get back home. Did that for years. My first daughter, my first born, she was on that path with us as well. So just to see the changes that have happened over the years, the businesses that come and go, fact there's an opportunity here to do kind of like a renovation from storefront to storefront is kind of amazing. And it's nice to see, you know, as I've lived here as long as I have, you know, even though I live in Peru now, you know, we still come back up, park the car, you know, just go for our old walk like we used to, you know, before my wife and I were married. And drag kids with us, screaming sometimes. Anyway, so this is a great thing. I think it's happening. I'd love to be a part of seeing this come to fruition. And so right here, you got the team behind you. And with Kelly and Todd and Kelsey, people will do is they'll kick it off now to Kelly. And maybe the rest. Thank you again, everyone, for inviting us over. This is-
Thank you, Jim. So as Jim said, my name is Kelly McCardle. I'm going to be the project manager for this project. And with me today, I brought Todd Humphrey. He's going to be our principal in charge, as well as Miss Kelsey Wessel. She is going to lead our public outreach. This is going to be a big project based upon the public's input. So that's definitely why we brought a dream team. You can see up here, we are going to have other individuals. Unfortunately, they're not here. And I don't need to go through all their specialties because you guys can all read them. But these individuals on the screen, we work together all the time. You hear the term synergy, and it's a really silly term. It just means that you work together all the time and you have a great team. The people who are up on the screen are my friends. I have their cell phone numbers. I hang out with them. And that is why CMS Companies and this team is going to be the team you want for the Margaret Street study. Goals for this project. Things you're going to want to remember and look for on this project is definitely going to be complete streets. That's a really big term right now in our industry. And what that is where we don't rely our priority on the motorist. We want to share the priority, share the road with our pedestrians, our bicycles, and our public transit. So that's going to be something we want to remember when we're doing this concept study. We also want to make Margaret Street more pedestrian friendly. Right now, we're going to go through a little later in our presentation some areas and deficiencies we have within Margaret Street. Another term really hot is placemaking. We want Margaret Street to feel like a comfortable place, a home, a place individuals can go and stay. They can go to Inca's for a sandwich. They can go get their nails done right around the corner. And you are here, you are in the heart of Plattsburgh, Margaret Street. That's what we want them to remember. That's where we want them to visit. Also, something important we have to keep in mind is the 15-minute neighborhood. That's the initiative up here in Plattsburgh, is ensuring that we are providing everything within that 15-minute time. Whether it's walking, whether it's bicycles, whether it's public transit, everybody can get what they need within those 15 minutes. That could be groceries, that could be entertainment, that could be going to have a drink at the Twisted Carrot. Whatever you're into, we need to make sure that they can do that within that 15-minute window. Also, another initiative is bike-friendly Plattsburgh. That's going to be the 5 square miles of the bike trails that you guys have already proposed and already starting on. But we're going to want to think about that when we move forward with this Margaret Street concept. Again, none of these are exactly what we're choosing today or telling you what your public is going to choose, because that's really what we're looking to do. They are just things that you want to keep in the back of your head when we perform this Margaret Street concept study. Also, because anybody drove by Hogan Ave in Plattsburgh, I was there today because I love working out in the field. I am thinking about this project past the study, right? You're gonna do a study, we'll gather some data and we'll use that data. But what I'm so passionate about is using that and creating a successful project. So that's gonna lead to the rehab and construction of Margaret Street, Court, Brinker Hall, all that. So you'll see some of my ideas today are not just for the study, but are for execution of those projects. So if you think we're thinking a little far ahead, it's probably because we're on purpose thinking about those things. Plattsburgh, I love the city of Plattsburgh. I am not a big city type of woman. I do not like going to large cities. I do not like parking a mile away or using a parking garage. I love the city of Plattsburgh so much because you can drive through, you can get a parking spot, you can attend and go to all the restaurants and festivals that you guys have. And that makes it a great city. And one thing when we do this project is ensuring that we're creating that Plattsburgh hometown feel. One thing that you may not know about me is I actually started as an intern at CNS in 2010. And I love it, have been working with the city of Plattsburgh since then. I actually started my first job on Arizona Avenue, popping open sanitary sewer manholes and doing a condition check. So as you can see, that was a pretty probably stinky job back then. But I've been working at the airport. I was the design engineer for the taxiway rehab, Alpha and Bravo, as well as the runway reconstruction that was happening. I was the lead engineer for 1, 2, 3, and phase 4 of that project. So I absolutely love the North Country, and I absolutely love Plattsburgh. Let's talk now, how are we going to execute this concept study? Here are some things we're going to hit when you use CNS companies. First, you're going to need to know your existing conditions and what your needs are. We can't improve unless we know where you're at right now, right? Also, public outreach is going to be a huge part of this project. As we know, any sort of study, you want to use, collect, and gather that data and use that and formulate that into your product. So that is going to be a key component of this project, as well as visualization. I'm going to show you some examples later on in the presentation of some cool visuals that we will be able to utilize for this project to help bring the goals and dreams to life. We also have some other points up there, our environmental review, and then our report at the end. We're not going to touch on those. They are important, but they are not the most critical to project success. Here is a picture of Margaret Street. By the way, all the pictures in these presentations were taken by me right on Margaret Street, and we're going to talk and you'll see them as we go through the presentation. Here is a picture on Margaret Street. Like I said, existing conditions are going to be important because you need to know baseline where we are, how can we improve. In this picture, what you're looking at is a sidewalk and a curb ramp that are currently failing ADA compliance. That is not what you want. What you want is a design curb ramp that's going to have detectable warning units. So that'll be the bubbles that you have seen in your sidewalks. For anybody who's visually impaired, it tells them that they're coming up to a crosswalk and they're crossing a roadway. All of your curb ramps and sidewalks need to be designed to ADA, which is your American Disabilities Act, or your ProWay, which is your public right-of-way guidance. Those we know. You don't need to worry about that because we know those tricky standards and deal with them almost on every project. So we have you covered on that. Again, another picture from Margaret Street. There's a lot of on-street parking that could potentially become an issue depending if Margaret Street stays two-way traffic, goes to one-way traffic, or is absolutely close to traffic. Those are all options that we are going to discuss within this presentation. This right here is an area, again, where the curb is a little banged up from some on-street parking. Could have been from a plow, could be from some vehicular traffic. And obviously we will work to fix those. Also, anybody down on Margaret Street, you will see trees. Anywhere you have trees and brick, trees always win, always. So you'll have some tripping hazards that we would hope to help you get rid of. And you can see in a picture right here, that is obviously not what we want right in the middle of Margaret Street. We also have a lot of restaurants. I was actually ate one, like I said, ate lunch at Nika's today, the sandwich place, which I highly recommend. Spicy Italian sub, if anybody's looking for any recommendations, delish. So our parklets that we have right here, all of our restaurants that have that outside seating, that is currently a potential problem because you're putting individuals virtually in a parking spot. That could be a huge liability should somebody run over onto the sidewalk or run through the opening in the Jersey barrier. So that is definitely something we're going to want to take into account as well when we do our concept study. But we love to sit outside when we eat, right? It's great. So it's going to have to be a nice compromise of pedestrian safety, as well as having our restaurants and everybody enjoy the fresh air outside. Another thing that we're gonna have to look at is our utilities. This is going a little bit past our concept study and more into the actual reconstruction and rehab. We have a lot of older utilities here in the city of Plattsburgh, as we all know. And I can look to the DPW guys, they're probably shaking their head, yes. They go to a lot of fixes, a lot of water main breaks. And what we would do in this project on Margaret Street is we could put all new in. That's going to be close drainage systems, public utilities. And if we're going to touch Margaret Street, you want to dig once, right? We don't want to create and put all our time and money into this fresh new curb and just fixing the top layer. We want to go down, up, and do it all at one time. That is the best way to do it. We also have the Betty Little Art Park. I did sneak over the fence a little bit. Don't tell anybody to steal this picture. That is going to be a great focal point on Margaret Street, and it is going to be a fantastic area that individuals will want to come and utilize. So I think we should definitely showcase that as a focal point. Also, parking, like I said, we can go through the supply and demand models for parking. How many individuals are coming in? Do we have enough spots over here on our parking lot on Derby? Do we not? Do we need more parking? Can we eliminate the on-street parking? All of those are things that we are going to take into account. And I threw up some pictures of Court and Bricker Hall. Those are our, if you're looking at a map, they go west and east. Those are going to be our longer streets. I don't believe we would look into doing a full-depth reconstruction, but we absolutely can. Those are probably just going to be a mill and overlay. They have a lot of homes and residences on there, but Margaret Street is going to be our main full-depth reconstruction. And lastly, here are some options that we have brainstormed. Again, public outreach for this project is going to be very important, but these are some options that we have come up with just from our experience and our engineering knowledge. And the ones that really stand out to me, the first few are changing the configuration of the roadway, changing them to a pedestrian mall, which is where the road is completely closed to traffic, and individuals can just use it, and it is like a free flow area, such as like a Church Street in Burlington. I really enjoy the colors. We talked about the colors of the brick up here, the concrete, being very dull. In the city of Plattsburgh, during the summer, you will have some tourists, but we also have heavy usage from our college students, right? They're more attracted to those bright colors, those gateway features, the signage, cool abstract architecture. That's really what I'm picturing and what I can see for Margaret Street, making this a cool, hip place and really including them as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over. I already talked about from probably boards you all. I'm going to turn it over to Todd Humphrey.
All right, Kelly, you're a tough act to follow. I'm gonna do my best. Can everyone hear me okay? If we're back to wearing masks. Like where?
Yeah.
Okay, great. What this slide is, a little bit of a gimmick slide, but what we wanted to show is when it comes to complete streets and reconfiguring the public right of way for more multimodal use, there's a lot of options. There's a lot of buzzwords out there, and we could go through this for hours to try to impress you of our knowledge. I'm sure you all already know a lot of this, but really there's just so much that we can consider and look into that the basic viewpoint of this study that we're trying to do for you is to look at all your needs, prioritize them, get that public input, and see what's going to work for you. Because there's a lot of different options, and some things just might not be right for Plattsburgh. So without getting into all of these, we hope to at least touch on some of them. I appreciate the time you're giving us tonight to come and present. We got a bunch of slides for you. We will try to get through as much as possible, but we're really eager to be able to share this information with you. So thinking about what we can do to reconfigure the streets to make it less of a vehicle and car thoroughfare and make it more friendly for everybody else trying to use it. We have some basic alternatives, and we did some street mixed views just to kind of show you what we could do. Margaret Street, obviously it's a two-way street right now. It's got parking, it's got sidewalks, it's kind of narrow. there's been talk of, like with Durkee, you can investigate going to a one-way street. We'll be talking about one-way, two-way conversions in a couple minutes. And that gives you more room, it gets less vehicles on the street, moves them somewhere else, and puts more room toward bicycles, pedestrians, the sidewalk cafes, plantings, green infrastructure, areas for utilities, like lighting. But you also have to remember traffic is being diverted. It's got to go somewhere else. We don't want to take the problem and move it a couple blocks away. We have to be cognizant of the needs of the entire neighborhood, not just the downtown core, but the surrounding community. So we want to be careful when we start to reallocate traffic, so we study it completely to make sure we're doing the right thing. And then you can go to the other extreme, which I think is the example that we had from Vermont, where you just close off the street. And we've seen this happen in Syracuse. We have a similar thing called Clinton Square, which is the ultimate, that all the vehicles go somewhere else and you completely create a pedestrian friendly wall. Where do those thousands of cars a day go? That becomes an issue. And also maintainability. So these are three main options that we're going to be looking at. So right now, Margaret Street, if you maintain a two-way traffic, you're maintaining the stairs. What you got out there today is what you'll have tomorrow. We can renew the infrastructure, we can freshen it up, we can make it good for another 30 to 50 years, but you're not really doing anything exciting or new or progressive. So although it's an option, it's something that keeps the traffic flow the way it is today, it could be a lost opportunity. So we're thinking that maybe some of the other alternatives are going to give you more satisfaction and more of a feeling of progressive environment in which you build. So next, if you take Margaret Street and make it a one-way street, that's a conversion. And got a couple of pictures up here from University Avenue in Syracuse. This was the connected corridor. And actually the other firm that's going to be coming in, Bartlett Judas, they were the designers of this. We were the project administrators. We were hired by the city of Syracuse to oversee the design and the construction and the public meetings. And what this project did was create more bicycle-friendly usage, safer sidewalks, kind of dress it up. And what you see here, this is a two-way bike way with green refactor resin. And it was intended to, this is like a 2-mile strip. It's intended to connect downtown Syracuse with the SU Hill. And it is an example of taking a one-way street, an existing one-way street, and reallocating space. Also, in the case of University Avenue, they took it and converted it back to a two-way street. It was a one-way street. They got all these improvements, and then they narrowed things down and made it a two-way street. Because most urban one-way streets, you have 2 lanes in one direction, so you can reverse them. Or you can use that extra width for bike lanes, or a cycle track, or more green space. And just a couple notes about maintainability, and I'm not here to bash any designers because we were part of the team on this project, but there's always lessons to be learned about doing a lot of really artistic and progressive streetscapes. You have to be able to maintain it at the end of the day. Mike and Andrew are going to have to keep these things looking good for year after year after year. Any of these installations, day one, when you go to cut the ribbon and you take the official photographs, they look beautiful. And then you get through the first winter, and we got some pretty tough winters where we're coming from. I know you got some winters here. That really ravages a lot of things. The climate that we have up here in the Northeast. Let me think about that for a second. This here was lighting, pedestrian scale lighting, about that tall, and they were all through the corridor. And as you can see, there's some damage because it became a popular target for mailbox baseball to the point where then each of these had to be replaced and retrofitted. Great idea at the time when we were thinking design, where the team was thinking design. But in actual practice in the university area, where there was a lot of vandalism, it caused some expensive retrofits. Also, the brick pavers gave a real nice texture to the snow storage area, but they were stood up on end. And with frostbeat and other things, they all started to displace. and they didn't look so good. They all had to be taken out of place, so. Things like flexi pave, porous pavement, it has to be cleaned up. You will see vacuum equipment to clean it up, so. Anything you guys put in the ground, you gotta think about maintenance as well. So the third option we talked about was if we close off the street altogether, we create a pedestrian mall. Here's an example I talked about from Syracuse, Clinton Square. The old Erie Canal went through here, became Erie Boulevard. There was a main thoroughfare, east-west through downtown. And there was a park, and they decided to close it off and make a pedestrian mall, and there's a lot of questions of where people going to go, where's traffic going to go. Well, traffic was successfully diverted, and this is now a major urban cultural gathering space. They've got fountains, ice skating in the winter, and it was a successful transformation. So it can be done. Here's another example. The vacation spot I like to go to in New Jersey. Actually, Kelly goes down here, does work for a client. And many years ago, because I went down there, that guy's good. They turned one of their major streets into a pedestrian mall, rerouted traffic. One important element they want to bring up, one block over, we got a municipal parking lot. All the on-street parking that used to be there has to be diverted somewhere else, because people are still going to want to drive downtown, find a place where they can park, and walk over to the pedestrian element. So if you're creating a pedestrian walkway, you also have to think about the displaced parking that is serving those business owners. So now this is the word of the day you can use to impress your friends. Moonroof. We don't make that up. It's actually, I think it's a Finnish word, and it means living street. And it's a concept that's a nice compromise between a one-way or two-way street and a pedestrian mall, because this is actually, you see all the people walking along, but there's also cars. It's a street that is shared between bicycles, pedestrians, and vehicles. It is made to really discourage street traffic, but at the same time, you're keeping it open. You're allowing parking, you're allowing access, you're allowing drop-offs. If you have someone with disabilities who needs to be dropped off in front of a business, but you're really taking that space and turning it over to people walking, making it more of a gathering space without having to completely reroute traffic. This could be a compromise solution between just fixing up what's there and going all out, making the traffic go elsewhere. So I just want to take a few minutes to talk about some of the technical elements, some examples of what we've done in some other towns. No matter what you do, you're going to have pedestrian crossings. You're going to need to have intersections around pedestrians, especially if you keep the street open for traffic. You need crosswalks, and the crosswalks you have now, concrete, not too inviting looking, kind of dark. The slide that Kelly showed about the existing conditions, one of the things we noticed, there's just a lot of gray, dark colors that can really brighten up. Decorative crosswalks is a popular way of really dressing things up. You can use hardscape features, thermoplastic, textured concrete, a lot of different options. Things with bicycle facilities where you can use the green paint. You can also use other colors. I showed you the picture of the connected corridor of University Avenue, that green bicycle boulevard. That's MMA, methyl methacrylate resin. And it's something that's been used that is more durable and resilient than paint or epoxy, so you're not coming out every couple of years with painting. And it actually has shown itself to be resilient in colder climates. So that's one of the more popular options that's being used for coloring those pathways. That's meant for bicyclists or pedestrians to demark it so the vehicles know who's crossing. The other thing is the creation of public space. You know, if you're going to have complete streets, you want a sense of arrival, a sense of place. You've got the art park. You've got some potential on some of these side streets and alleys to create some park space. And this is an example from the city of Auburn in Central New York. This was actually a bridge project a bridge replacement over the Alaska River. And an opportunity existed to create some park space as part of that project, and really have a place where pedestrians could come and gather, and they could have a place where they could share that space, that public space. And what's interesting about this, if you look in the background, it's Auburn State Correctional Facility, Mexican Street Prison, a lot smaller than the one we have down the road, but still an imposing structure. Yet right across the street, we are able to create this little pocket of beauty and attractiveness to help gather people downtown. Also, one of the things I think is working right now, you've got a lot of trees. And Kelly said there are problems when we start getting roots, but trees that are offset in a lot of areas work good. Street plantings are going to be an integral part of any kind of streetscape. Soften things up, make it more inviting, more sustainable looking. But you have to be careful. You get back to maintenance. If you're going to plant something, you don't want it to start, you don't want the trees to die. You don't want them to start displacing the sidewalks, creating safety hazards. You don't want to go backwards. One of the things that we use, here, go back for a second. I got to show you this. Silver cells is the technology that's arising where trees can be planted in urban areas and be contained. And up top is some manufacturer's literature that shows how silver cell is put together. And down below is some actual practice on Genesee Street in Syracuse. Now this is a good potential answer toward taking some of that width that's currently being used for other purposes and creating a nice green corridor that gives you some aesthetic beauty and also gives you some stormwater treatment in a way that's also going to minimize your maintenance concerns. So we're thinking that another thing that we can propose on this project, and it's all budget related, you know, everything costs money, but the more you can put into a project to make it more less looking like a regular street and more like a place, a sense where you come someplace special. You've arrived, you're downtown, you're at Market Street. Everything that's Kelly's been describing. One of the elements we can do using more of a hardscape feature is coming up with some retaining walls, some sitting areas, and using hardscape, bricks, concrete, textured concrete, to still maintain some of that downtown look or some of that 1920s, 1930s architectural look. Here's some examples. City of Corydon, we created this gateway treatment sign, Trumansburg, big much bigger city, Rochester. Some examples of how we created some streetscapes. I think at both ends of the project, as we get to Corydon Street, when we're looking at the side streets, Winterhoff and Court, the last couple of blocks, we can have some kind of gateway features to kind of announce you are here in the downtown core area. Another thing that we need to talk about is parking options. This is not something I would suggest, but it does show some ingenuity. Backing in the parking that we showed in the city of Syracuse or the city of Auburn. That takes up more width. But here was an idea that the city was looking for an alternative to the regular parking. We came up with something that's shown to be safer and a little bit unique. And these are all options we can have. Market Street is very narrow. Right now, we've got parallel parking. We might look at doing some off-street parking with some creating some municipal lots. The parking options are definitely going to be part of our design. So, last couple of slides I'm going to talk about before we get into the all-important public outreach section. Just to define the study area, the primary core that we're talking would be Margaret Street right here in the downtown area, from Broad Street up to Cordelia. And we're thinking as we go the first couple blocks outwards of not only Court and Brinkerhoff, but some of these other side streets that we're going to be looking at as potentials for maybe diverting traffic and creating some more pedestrian space. So if we're not able to make Market Street close off, maybe we can get some other areas along the sides. And then Gordon Brinkerhoff, we just want to talk about, we have many options there. You know, for the most part, this is a one-way pair, bringing traffic in and out of the city from the west. And it's more residential with some businesses. And obviously, the last couple blocks you get into downtown and two-way. So we would look at different options for reallocating the width. Kelly said it would be mostly maintenance, but in the one-way sections where you have 2 lanes of traffic and not a lot of volume, we could look at maybe creating some bicycle facilities, doing some traffic calming, and not making it such a wide, high-speed type of road. I think Elsie,
this is just a map, which you guys know, it shows the existing circulation pattern, you know, streets that are one-way, streets that are two-way, just kind of the project area. And this kind of goes into play with whatever alternative is developed. It's gonna be important to look at those streets. You go back, right? Sorry. And these are just traffic volumes on the next street. To everyone else, they probably don't mean much. To a traffic engineer, it's like, oh, that's a lot of capacity left for 2 lanes in one direction, or because everything that happens on Margaret Street is gonna affect the network, and that's something that I would look at and that I would model to make sure that any proposed options are feasible and don't create problems somewhere else. And then I'm just gonna go into public outreach quickly. This is not my tagline. It's actually from the International Association of Public Presentation. And really, we just want to use these different strategies to involve the public. We want to inform the public in a really non-biased way of what the project is, so that you can get really genuine and pure feedback from what they want. You want to consult them, listen to them, hear their ideas on what's going on, and make sure that you involve them in the solution. And this just shows, it's like a schedule of the project. We don't know like the actual schedule yet, but it just kind of shows these milestones of when we would want to involve the steering committee and the public meeting. You know, public meetings are no longer, you need to show up on a certain day at a certain time. I'm going to tell you what the project is, and if you don't make it, you don't get to put input. It's much more of an involved process now. And we can do things virtually, we can do surveys, you know, we're not gonna limit it to just public meeting events. And this is like a living document that I just developed. This is how I like to approach the public process. And I edit this document through the entire project. And I come up with dates, times, attendance of pop-up events, steering committee meetings, who attended, what the plan is, even down to like how many pencils and pens I need to bring. But you don't need to know that, but I like to keep this as a living document to make sure that involving the public and making sure that they are heard and their ideas becomes, their vision becomes the project. And that's where that terminology placemaking comes in. When people are involved in the project, they take a sense of pride in where they live. Go to the next one. So these are just some public outreach events that I worked at recently. I went to Perry, the previous slide, I was in front of the supermarket, and we were just kind of grabbing people as they went into the supermarket. Do you want to give us your input? If not, here's a flyer, you can do it at home, scan the QR code, whatever you want to do. You go to the next one. Here's another public outreach meeting. It was an open house format. Come and go as you like. You want to cut out pictures and show us what your vision is for the local waterfront in Amsterdam. And then we had a pop-up event at the farmer's market in Perry. We just showed up, we put a tent, and we collected feedback from different types of people who showed up at the farmer's market. Because our goal is to grab people who want to be, you know, who have seeked out the mission, but also to kind of hit some people by surprise who didn't know the project was happening, or, you know, didn't go on the social media website to find out about it. And here's a project for 81. We were on the public outreach for that, of just informing people about the project and the alternatives and getting their feedback on And then I've also done websites, so if people like to do things from the comfort of their own home, I can do a recorded presentation and people can just listen to that and watch the presentation. We also came up with a really, a GIS website of an example of a survey I like people to take if they want to go home. They can just click on the survey. It would give them background on the project. So you could get your background information, and then if you can scroll, Kelly.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. I know it's cumbersome with that thing.
Can our assistant scroll for us, please? Thank you so much.
There you go. So it gives a little background, what's the project about, what our goals are, and then they can go online, take a survey. They can Google Earth, come right down, put a pinpoint. We need a crosswalk here. We need traffic coming here. You know, I see a lot of near misses here, not enough parking here. So they can really interact from the comfort of their home and still give input. And then we can, you know, categorize all the themes that we see with the survey.
And could you close out of that webpage for me?
How do I do that?
The X up on the top right?
Oh, here.
Thank you so much.
She's ready to take the survey. And we even do that with QR codes. Like these are just some ideas for pop-up events where we could show up, you know, some places that people are that we may catch. And if they don't want to, we usually have QR codes. You can scan this now and it'll bring you right to the survey that I made on GIS. So. And then we categorize themes. What do we see the most? What are the biggest themes we see from people? And that's when we develop our concepts. And then that's we engage the public again in concepts. Do you like this type of gateway or this type of gateway? You know, we want to really bring them in to the end so they're invested in the project. And then this is just about traffic modeling because I kind of touched on whatever we do on Margaret Street, one way, two way, no way. You know, that's obviously going to affect other areas of the city, and we just want to make sure that works. Like Todd said, we don't want to create a problem somewhere else. So we have good traffic modeling capabilities. I won't go over these. You guys probably don't use those on your, you know, safer in your daily life. So, yeah.
I think the biggest thing about the public outreach is that we're listening.
Yeah.
Because we've come to you with a lot of ideas and options, but we're not here to dictate or tell you what is going to work for you before we have that public outreach session. We're not here to say, hey, this is what went great in other cities. We want to know what works great in Plattsburgh. So the public outreach component is going to be all important because that's where we're going to be doing the listening and taking in the needs and the desires of the community to make sure that what we propose is the right thing. So these examples of visualization technology just show some of the exciting ways that we can reach out to the public and engage them and make it more interactive. The QR codes, the online survey, our use of the simulation models for traffic where we can actually show vehicles driving up and down the street, how it would look in the future if we were to move traffic around. All right, here's a couple of examples of what some of our graphic artists can do. If you remember that the matrix of people on the front slide there, Ryan Mary, he's great at doing this. And show you an example. This was a riverfront boardwalk the city of Amsterdam wanted. You can see the before and the after creation of what could be done. Here's another example we did for a rural intersection out in Ontario County, which is south of Rochester, where the upper view is an actual picture of this severely skewed four-way intersection where there was a lot of accidents. And a good solution was a roundabout, and down below, using existing photography and photo simulation technology, we were able to present to them what that roundabout would look like to get them better informed of, is this an option we really want to do? A lot more effective than just seeing black lines on white paper. And we've also taken a photograph of Margaret Street right down there through the main part of the corridor, and we can show you what a photo simulation is. Ryan may apply his talents to this. And I know this is a pretty basic photo simulation because this is like the maintenance option where we would keep two-way traffic, we would keep the parking, but we would dress things up, brand new pavement, new hardscape pavers, fresher street trees. So this would be kind of like the beginning, the ground floor of the options that we could be doing. So if you think about anything else that you want to visualize for Margaret Street or the public lots, we could make that happen and make a render so they could see it, and because seeing is believing. And then here's a great example of seeing is believing. I talked about that little pocket park in Auburn near the prison a few slides ago. Up on top is an actual photograph of the completed project, and down below is a photo simulation that was created about a year before of what we wanted that to look like, and it just about nailed it. So we can take that vision and create it to reality and really give people an educated, informed view of what they're going to be buying into.
Assistant, could you go to the bottom of the video and push the play button for me? Thank you so much. Just like that. Beautiful. All right, we might be fighting over control. All right, let's get started. Yeah.
One of the other exciting things about our visualization capabilities, right, in CNS, is the use of drones. And Bob Duclos is actually one of our vice presidents who retired, came back because he had such a passion for it. And he's leading our efforts at taking the use of drones and creating accurate 3D mapping anywhere. You can go over buildings, under bridges, fly all around. This image is actual photography that was compiled in 3D that we can then use to create renderings. I mean, if you can think of Margaret Street and flying the corridor and getting aerial views, this is all stuff that can be done that we can do. And it's not just pretty pictures, it's actual georeferenced 3D data that could be used for survey. We have another example at downtown Syracuse, the Penfield building, which is a famous old factory building, is undergoing renovation. This was done by use of Bob's drone, and you can actually see the gray in the background. That's the screen of the computer. It's like you're off the edge of the world, but this is our whole part of the world that we captured through the drone. And you know, you can rotate all around, you can go up, you can go down. It's great to give you real animation and simulation. Plus it has actual engineering applications.
So our next visualization technology is actually going to be through the use of smartphones. So if you would like to do it, if you scan the QR code, we have little cardboard VR goggles that I'm going to hand out. And what it'll take you to is actually SUNY Polytechnic, which is a university right in Utica, New York. We modeled a new bridge for them. So if you want to, you can open these and they turn into little goggles and you can scan that QR code. We can send it to you after the presentation or we can take a minute and do it. But what you do is you just hold your phone right up to the screen. I'll actually do it right on mine. I can pass it around just really quick. Pull up any sort of camera on your smartphone. Hold it right here in front of your QR code. It'll open up an app and it goes right on your phone. I'll show you guys how to do it. We can pass this around. And what it allows you to do is view your project in 3D. This would be extremely cool if you could show this at the Battle of Plattsburgh. You could show it at your farmer's market. And you fold this out. And if anybody has seen the movie WALL-E, that's kind of what you look like when you hold this up to your eyes. And what you do is, may I let you do it first if you would like to?
And the chairman.
Alrighty, I will. And if you look in there and you spin around in your chair, if my phone doesn't shut off, if it doesn't go black, that'll just be my phone setting. You'll be able to see and move with that model. You'll see there's a new bridge in there. And it is very cool and it's very exciting. Like Kelsey spoke about at those public outreach meetings to bring something like this.
It's not real, Jeff.
Trying to figure out where it is.
Can you see, if you're looking at it? Okay, that would just be my phone settings turning off. But that's what you do. I'll pass one more right here. Mr. Kelly, would you like to look at this one?
Sure.
And you just hold that right up and you'll see a bridge.
Yeah.
Right in there. And what you can do is you can actually move through the project as you walk or as you spin.
Oh, my God.
That would be very interactive. So, are you looking at things on my phone over there? Somebody's texting.
No.
Do you know what Snapchat is? Did you get a Snapchat?
No.
So if anybody wants to talk, we can talk about that after our presentation. But the thing is, when you choose CNS, we know your processes. I know Mike and Andrew and talk to them pretty regularly through our experience with PSAP and Cogan Ave. So we know your processes, we know your people, and we know your community. And you know us. That's really that relationship that you want. These guys are talking to me all the time on PSAP, Cogan Ave, and that's, you want a project manager who's gonna be responsive and who's gonna work for you. And I believe that they would both say good things. I can't tell you what they're gonna say after the meeting, but I believe that they would both say good things about CNS and our project management. So here is a picture on Cogan Ave. Anybody there? Swing by, I'm usually there in the high-vis t-shirt. That's my speed with the hard hat, so this is a little fancy for me. But that's okay, stop by, swing by, like I said, and have that experience with the PSAP, with Cogan Ave, with Andrew Dern and Mike Massett, and your DPW, and your city employees. And that's why CNS should be chosen for this Margaret Street concept. We have the trust together with the city of Plattsburgh, so let's go ahead and let's just do this. Thanks for your time. Does anybody have any questions for the team?
You have a binder, right? You guys provided a bound book with all of this information in it too?
Do we have, we can email it to you?
Yeah.
Definitely.
What we have, we're gonna let you keep that thumb drive and you can look it up. We want it to be sustainable as possible, but if you want, we'll have to print up copies and send it to you.
You had a copy of it? Mike? Yeah.
No, this is the first thing.
I have this on the desktop.
Okay. All right, great.
Yeah, we have it uploaded right up
All
there.
right, great. Thank you.
Any other questions?
And also what we'll do, we'll send a clip of that animation that.
Yeah.
We'll put that on the internet, 'cause
Yeah.
it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's really high graphics, large product file.
Just to add, I know I've talked about my local presence here, but we have an office here at Plattsburgh, right on Arkansas Street. CNS has got offices across the country, but Clinton County is technically CNS's #2 client in the entire country. We've been here for well over 30 years, mainly on the county level. I'd like to see, this is good for us because I'd like to see this office grow, and move out of this space that we're in now to something bigger. So that's another reason why I'm excited with this. This is an opportunity for us. So we're accessible here. I live here. Mike knows where I live. So but anyway, we're here.
Great.
This is to consider to have all of us, to see us, we'll do what it takes to make sure that you get the project that you want. And then that's the, so I thank you for your time.
Thanks, folks.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 2.2, parking kiosk system.
Yeah, we got.
Councilman, we got one more presentation.
Oh.
This one is going to be. I apologize. I did not tell them, hey, keep it to 20 minutes or something. So I was hoping, but it's another group.
Okay.
Yeah. That was my fault. Jeff, sorry.
Be here for a while.
Pardon me?
You're gonna be here for a while.
We'd like to hear.
All right.
As the mayor said, he asked the DPW and the Community Development Department to reach out to contractors and firms that we have worked with to put together proposals for this reconstruction of Margaret Street and for Court and Brinkerhoff. The Community Development Department reached out to Barton Judas, who is the city's consultant, not only for our grant writing, but also for the Harborside Master Plan that is ongoing. And I will introduce Jeremy Hughes and his colleagues who can go through their proposal for the speaker design downtown.
So welcome, thank you for your time. We will, I'll get a little briefer than what we just had, but that's great. We have Don Fletcher with B&L, as well as Dan Bork, who's going to walk you through this presentation. At any point in time, if you have any questions, concerns, feel free to reach out and speak at the moment, or you can wait till the end and have conversations at that point in time. And so Dan's not ready yet, so I'll do a little soft shoe, a little song and dance maybe in the meantime. I think you're killing me. There you go.
Yeah, I have to share it.
I can give a quick, just 30-second talk about Barton. No, that's fine. I'm Don Fletcher, Senior Vice President at B&L. Thank you for having us here this evening. We've been in business since 1961, primarily a New York State firm. We are about 14 offices across 5 states in the Northeast. Largest offices in Liverpool and Syracuse, New York. We all reside in the Albany, New York office. The work we primarily done from our Albany office. With that, are you ready, Dan?
Yeah.
We're a firm of about, I'd say, we're 350, 375 people in terms of range size.
Dan Orr, thank you guys for having us. So Dan, Jeremy, Don, we're all here. And I know we're a little short on time, so I'll keep it brief and maybe leave it more open to some questions and answers and have a discussion between everyone. So our company, Don just gave you a quick overview, but this is what we do. We do a lot of this complete streets, road guidance. We do this all across the state, and I have a couple example projects that very similar to what the city's looking for here. That I really want to highlight and go over how we can accomplish this with you. So the corridor that the project is that you guys are all looking for here. You guys are all familiar with this Brinkerhoff Court, Margaret Street. So we did take a preliminary look out there, and this, the idea can be accomplished. It comes at the cost of maybe parking loss, maybe travel lane loss, maybe extra construction beyond the curb line, but that's all things that we'll evaluate with you all as we get into that preliminary engineering process. So the project approach and the scope of work that we presented to you all was kickoff meeting, get together, we'll set this project schedule up, make sure we meet all the deliverables and the dates that the city's looking for. And, our key component of this is the public and stakeholder outreach. That's number one priority, make sure all involved parties are interested, they're involved in the process, and they buy into what the project is and what it can bring to the community. And our number two highlight of what we propose is a pilot project. We've done this in other communities, and I think it could be done here and be very successful, where we come out here and we demonstrate what the proposed project could be. Everyone can try it out, try the new travel patterns, see what the new parking patterns are like. And finally, the culmination of our report will guide the city into how to get to those next steps of finding funding, what the construction budget would actually be like, what the overall schedule of construction could be. So again, public outreach, this is our number one priority on the project. This can be done in many ways, open houses, event-based outreach with other events that the city has going on. And this could also be tied into the pilot project that we proposed. On-site walking tours, individual business owner meetings, where all the businesses come into a stakeholder meeting, gather ideas, then we could go back to work and get the preliminary engineering going, And we, after we do the pilot project, after we do the preliminary engineering, we go back to the business owners and the public and show them what the results of that process was. So a couple projects we really want to highlight. City of Saratoga Springs, we did this very similar project, Henry Street, pilot project. So we took it was a two-way, two-lane road with on-street parking. We eliminated parking and provided a cycle track on the road. This is in a business district. See on the bottom left, there's restaurants and bars. And it goes in front of the city's library, up to the top middle picture. So we just tested this out with the pilot project for a 2-week period, and was very successful. We had media coverage, the local news channels were there, and we hosted an open house, and we got business owners and public feedback through an online survey. The results are positive. The city's moving ahead with gaining funding, and this is a project that they want to implement here in the near future. City of Syracuse, this is Connected Corridor. This is one of our company's highlight projects. Again, everything involved in this project could be done here at the city with your proposed project. Cycle track, pocket parks, bike lanes in more restricted areas, traffic calming, slowing down traffic at intersections, public art. Really a focal project that the city of Syracuse implemented. And the main purpose here was to connect Syracuse University to the downtown business districts.
Let me add one thing on that, if you don't get it in a second, is it's the statement at the bottom we find on the connected corridor was extremely important. Dan said it was a signature project that the city wanted to connect downtown with Syracuse University. What they've already talked about is almost a $300 million private sector development investment that's happened since this project in the city, and a 35% increase of people living in that area. That's what we're talking about for economic development. That's what you look at when you're trying to do transformative projects. And that's what we believe we can do here in the city. We've done many of these projects, and that we can bring this to the city here.
Another urban area bike path project, the city of Waterville. This project was actually just finished last week. Very similar methods were applied here that could also be put into place here in Plattsburgh. It's on Route 32, which is Broadway in the city, a very heavily traveled corridor. And we took the existing roadway and reduced an extra travel lane down to make room for an on-street cycle track. And in areas where it was allowed, we also were able to go off-road. But again, we could see the bottom pictures implemented on Brinkerhoff and Fourth Street, definitely. Some form of that layout could be used. In this project, this is part of the Empire State Trail. This was a key link because it does run through urban downtown corridor where there was no link. Everybody who's familiar with Empire State Trail knows December 31st, 2020 was the deadline. And this was open to public use by that date. Again, this was a great project for the city here, and we see this setup as being very applicable to Brinkerhoff and Port Street. Another downtown city urban project involving bike lanes, city of Yonkers Greenway Trail. We know this is a long ways away from Plattsburgh, but what we did here was worked with a lot of public information meetings. There's a lot of people involved, very congested corridor. It's on South Broadway between Bronx border up 3 miles up to South Broadway. It crosses 7 different business districts. So there was many sit-down stakeholder meetings with each one of those business districts to make sure all of the restaurants and bar owners and they are all invested, understood what the disruption, the short-term construction disruption would do for the overall impact of the project. So top right, this is just one of the tools we use to show the business districts in the city how we could reallocate that space from building phase to building phase. So we know those pieces aren't moving anywhere. So how could we redo sidewalks, curbs to fit in all these extra pieces that everyone wants to see? And we were able to, maintain some travel lanes, on-street parking, and fit in bike lanes in this scenario here. And just some of our other streetscape experiences and other downtown areas across the state, City of Geneva, Cooperstown, Village of Dundee, City of Binghamton. And I guess what we'd like to do is kind of open this up to any discussion and questions and answers, anything that any of you would like to talk to us about. Next slide.
Any discussion?
Thoughts, concerns, questions?
Okay, but I'd like to close with this. If you want. I would like to say, why be an Apple? Why would you look to hire marketing teams to do this job? I think there's several factors in it. One is we're multidisciplined. We've done this for a long time. We've been in business 60 years in New York State. Municipalities are about 90% of our business. That is what we do. Okay, we're local. We have a small office locally here in Clinton County. Obviously, have ourselves here from Albany, and those offices have all the people that are needed. We are second to none, in my opinion, in finding funding. Funding is what we do. We understand anybody can study anything they want, can study it to death. It's about implementation. Implementation usually means also about finding money. You can find money, you can then do the work. And as Dan showed, I think we have a good solid resume on how to do it between Yonkers, Syracuse, Cooperstown, all the jobs there, Saratoga, all of those show that we can do that. We have a robust, starting with Bob Murphy, who I know the city knows from doing the work at Harborside that we talked about earlier. We're working on public engagement, public participation and funding, so we know that well. We also know, how to use early strategies, simple strategies that don't cost a lot of money, like the pilot program. On how is this going to work? Show it to people, and then get the feedback from the public, the business owners, the elected officials, the city departments, all of that, to come together with a plan that is needed. So I would say those are the whys as to why it would make sense for Barton Engineers. We're ready to start immediately, and we believe in working through a good public participation plan. 3-4 months, 6 months, this could be done. And I think one thing we have to figure out the plan, how many people leave and go south, you know what I mean? And when you tie it to winter, and you tie it to holidays and stuff, on getting that information, to be able to robustly move forward with it. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Hey, thanks so much. Good to see you again.
Shall we do this
Thanks, buddy.
presentation?
Yeah, thank you.
So if you want to go back and
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Mary, got about 1,000 my
I
cards.
got 1,000 of your cards, and but I need more notepads. Out of it.
Do it?
No.
You want?
Yes,
I'll see you.
I'll see you there.
Let's
Right,
get
buddy.
together.
All right, man.
All right, thank
Absolutely.
you.
See ya.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. No, that's okay. Okay, thank you.
No more presentations, council. Well, none on that anyway.
Yeah, at this point, I guess we can move on to 2.2, presentation on the parking kiosk system.
Yep, and just to provide the council with some context, the city's parking advisory committee met for the better part of a year back in 2019. We had a series of discussions over how best to address the fact that we were likely going to lose 300 parking spaces in the Derby Street parking lot.
What's gonna do it over there?
Felt like I was in the disco for a second.
Part of the discussions with the parking advisory committee were a managed parking system was one of the recommendations from the original study from 2018. We put out an RFP for kiosk manufacturers to present proposals to manage that system. We had a committee within that parking advisory committee meet individually and have presentations of demos by multiple companies. That committee unanimously recommended IPS as the vendor of choice for the city. Over the next year, while the city completed its environmental impact statement for the downtown projects and went through the permitting process for the Prime project, kind of sat on the shelf. But since we've wrapped up that permitting process and we're waiting on a decision for the litigation that's currently involving the Prime project, we've been in discussions with IPS about the details of that system, working out all of the things that we need to do to put it into place. Mark Berling, who has been our contact throughout that process, has shown extraordinary patience during what I imagine is a much longer sales process than he's used to. But he is here today to talk about the hardware that has been recommended and the system that IPS can implement for the city. So I'll turn it over to him.
Thank you, Matt, and thank you, Mayor and Council. Great, and next slide, please. So what IPS does is we have a complete suite of smart solutions for parking. And many municipalities grapple with, trained staff. We can help you do more with less. And the parking space, that's going to lead to more revenue, a better experience for people that are trying to pay the parking kiosks, and a better integration, allowing the meters to communicate with your enforcement solution, and being able to look at back-end financial reports and the health and meter reports and so forth. The next slide, please. And one more. So I won't go over all the points, but we're founded in 1994. We were incorporated in Pennsylvania in 2000. And we were are best known as a single-stage smart meter. We developed that in 2004, 2005, and began shipping that in 2007. So Burlington is one of our single-stage parking meter companies. We have some meters in Syracuse for the handicap meters they have there. And then in 2013, we developed our pay station. So we were late to the game in coming up with a kiosk or a pay station, but I think there's a lot of benefits to that. Number one, our single space meter, which I'll show you a bit later on, it has a small form factor. It's a smart device, and it takes credit cards. There's a modem in there. So every time we put a credit card in there, it's communicated to our back end, validating the credit card is good, and recording that transaction. Those single space meters only have 4 buttons, a plus, minus, okay, and cancel. We apply the same technology to our pay station to make it very easy for people, but especially in a city like Plattsburgh, when you're going from unpaid to paid, you want to make that really intuitive and easy for people to use, take away that intimidation factor. We also have, we came up with an enforcement and a permitting solution. And that has very tight integration between all those components. And once again, makes it very, very easy. There's no finger pointer saying, hey, I'm not getting your data, you're not sending it properly. If it's all IPS, that goes away. IPS is the thing that you're pointing to. Next slide, please. So we actually have probably 300,000 devices around the country. We're headquartered in San Diego, and we're the only pay station company that manufactures their pay stations in the US. And there's some benefits to that. Number one, we have all of our staff is here, all of our some manufacturing support, everything's right in San Diego. We offer 24/7 support, and it makes it much easier to get parts because I'm not coming from another country. The other companies are, France and Sweden or Canada, so it takes a lot longer to get the parts in. If they don't have them in stock locally with the distributor. We are probably 175 employees. We have, the middle area, we have a lot of patents, a lot of transactions going through our back-end cloud-based data management system. Our meter uptime, this is pretty amazing. So we publish a 99% uptime on our meters, single space, multi-space base stations. I can show that to you. I possibly showed it to you, Mayor, when we had our presentation. We're installed in over 250 cities, and we have a number of customers from Boston to Baltimore, and Seattle has probably 1,500 of these space stations. So coast to coast. Next, please. And one more. So the heart of our system is that cloud-based data management system, which the mayor and Matt and Ethan and a few other people were witnessing last week. It gives you so much information, everything from something that Matt might want. I want to see in this lot how much revenue we're generating. You can kind of get that based on the number of spaces you have. Looking at that revenue and dividing by other spaces to get the occupancy levels. Maybe we need to raise our rates here because it kind of change people's behavior. So that can all be done with the back end. You want to take a look at the amount of currency versus credit card utilization. That's important. The health of the meters, so the people that maintain the meters, they will be able to receive alerts if something is malfunctioning with the meter, low batteries out of paper or something else, they can be made aware of that. So we manage multi-space base stations. I can talk about single space base stations. Our enforcement, our permitting solution, they're all tied into that one common backend. Next slide, please. So this is the pay station right here. So this actually sits about 4 inches higher on a pedestal. For the sake of my car, it doesn't fit, and it does that. It's actually just the way it is. We don't need any more weight. So it does sit a bit higher, but they are very, very easy to use. And when you come up to it, you get a key. You'll notice that these lights on my hand, these lights shine down. And this is going to be very important come December 21st. It's going to be dark, right? So they get any key, and then all it's lit up right next to these cool blue LEDs. Then the screen comes on. So it's kind of like almost like a hibernation mode. Nobody touches it or does a transaction for a while. So it really shuts down the consumption of that device. So we have a solar panel right here. There's a solar in the front, on the back. So as the sun kind of goes through the course of the day, you're getting a solar charge all day long. It's kind of nice. So I mentioned the same 4 keys. So if you go to Burlington and use a single space meters, you're going to say, oh, this is familiar. So they come over here, they take the ferry across, and then they come over here for some reason. They're going to pay the space station. Okay, I know what to do. Plus, minus, okay, cancel. Pretty easy. The device itself, and I can a little bit later on can allow you to come and try it. We accept, or these meters here will be accepting points, credit cards, and also NFC. That's near field communication. So if you have either a credit card that's NFC enabled or your smartphone, you just hit a button to turn it on, tap that, and then it will start. It will default to the whatever the program value is for that transaction. You hit a plus minus key, enter your plate, and then it'll take you right away.
Does it remember if I've used the unit before with the same card or tap my smartphone? Does it remember my transaction from before?
It will not remember your transaction from before, but that's a great question. I'll talk about in future slides, so thank you for asking that question. something that would make the transaction process easier and reduce consumables by using a service we have called My Parking Receipts. I'll talk about that in another slide. Next slide, please. So there's not a heck of a lot to it. What you have is on the top right, you have a roll of paper, and then the printer right there. You have a battery in the top left. It's actually a little bit different than that now. You have a coin validator in that main top area. The balance of it is all plug and play, and there's a main board, and all the devices, the peripheral devices, which is just running the printer, connected to them. So if you need to replace, let's say, a screen or a keypad or something, they're very easy to replace. And I've done this for some of my customers, and I know, I've been formally trained. I take a picture of my phone, and then whatever the device needs to be replaced, I just unplug that, make sure that I know what I'm unplugging, and Phillips head screwdriver, replace it, put the connector back in, you're good to go. That's the top section. The bottom section is, you have a door here with a separate key, and then there's a vault. And there's a T connector or a T key, another key opens up that steel vault. And then behind that is a coin canister that you actually slide on a tray, pick up that coin canister, that has a different key. So we have a number of different types of security, so that I'm not sure how the process is. I think you have probably figured it out by now. But you may have the bank, maybe the bank's going to count the points, so they would have the keys, or maybe somebody within the city in finance is going to count the points. They can have the keys. But we have a very, very, very secure system, and it's very, very easy to maintain. Next slide, please. I just wanted to point this out to you just because, again, we started here, and the same 4 keys, plus minus, okay, green, and cancel. So the couple 100,000 of these that are on the field, people have seen that and make it easier for them. You might want to think about these. If you ever go, the initial RFP was for both off-street and on-street. On on-street, we're still going to go with pay stations, but there's going to be areas where maybe you have a short block, 1 or 2 spaces. Probably doesn't require the use of a $8,000 device like that. You put per space $1,000 small smart meter, and put it on a pole, and you have a housing, and it's still talking the same back end, it has the same experience, takes the same credit cards, and you're metering that space. Or maybe like I mentioned, Syracuse, they have these handicap spots. You potentially use it their own. So I'm just kind of telling you think of future planning. Next slide, please. So Mayor, you'd asked about remembering the last time you put your credit card in. We have a website and a service called myparkingreceipts.com, and I think this is unique. If you register for an account, you can put 2 credit cards and up to 5 vehicles in that account. And anywhere there's an IPS meter, so if it's a single space meter only, you'll be able to get receipts emailed to you automatically. If you are using it in a pay station like this, that's pay by plate, if I put in my registered credit card, it'll auto-populate the plate screen with the first plate that I registered. And if I want the second or third, I hit the minus key, keep on going down to the vehicle that I want, and you hit OK. So a benefit to that is actually one benefit. One of the benefits certainly is it eliminates people either A, frustration not remembering the plate, or potentially transposing the plates. Those are going to be things you're going to have to manage as the program starts up. So if people transpose, you'll have to be very lenient on the hearings. When that process comes the first 3 months or maybe indefinitely, if they did make an honest mistake. So certainly you want to avoid those citations. But you want to certainly publicize this. You want to talk about our marketing service that you can as well. But it's really a nice feature. Another nice thing about that is we program this to say, would you like a receipt? If you don't, would you like a receipt, press OK. If you don't press OK in a few seconds and you fall back to Main Street, you just saved yourself consumables and potentially litter. So especially for those people that have registered for an account, they're gonna get an email receipt, or they can always go to the back end and print off receipts or look at all the transactions over the course of time. So I registered for this once, it's not exclusive to Plattsburgh, it's, again, I got a Lake George. I use my pay station and my credit card there. It's going to give you receipts for that as well. So no matter those access speed or single space or multi-space, you can get receipts using that service. Next slide, please. So the data management system, there, we looked at that. What did you think?
It's actually pretty robust. Any part that you want to manage about either the revenue model, the maintenance of it, the location of it is all managed through this. On the back end.
It is pretty amazing. I mean, we can get as granular as if you have an adjudication, you could give the people on adjudication access to look into a meter. If somebody says I put in 4 quarters, you can actually take that meter number, put it in there, the date and the time, and look at the transactions that happened. And you can say, no, you didn't put in 4 quarters, you put in 2 quarters, and then I identified or invalid point, I guess, they were determined, but I think they invalid point. So you can actually validate that they put in a Chuck E. Cheese token, or certainly not 3 quarters. That's the granularity and the power of the system. And just one more thing I mentioned is there's rules. It's rules-based security. So what that means is people in finance, if you want, you can only give them access to finance information. The people that are involved in servicing it, you just want to give them access to the technical information. Maybe Matt is the administrator, he's the ability to add users, remove users. You can have managers. So again, different rules based on what your disciplines will understand. Next please. I think I'm explained that already, but certainly a lot of reports in here. Next. We also have a mobile solution as well, no additional charge. Download this app for Android or iOS. And for anybody that is doing a maintenance, the left-hand screen here, it lets me find holes. It lets me look at transactions going through here over a certain period of time. It lets me look at the health of meters. I get one low battery and 19 found false. And then for the enforcement, this lets you view every single plate, and that plate is paid or supplied. Next, please. Okay, perfect. So Park Smarter is our pay-by-phone app, and it, as you expect, as I mentioned earlier, it tightly integrates with meters. And that actually, if you take the same credit card and made a transaction using the same registered credit card that's on Park Smarter, if I started here with this, my session's about to expire, I can top that up with Park Smarter as it has that registered credit card. So that's how you can top them up between the two. So you can use a credit card and Park Smarter, or you can just start your transaction with Park Smarter and then add on your transaction with Park Smarter. Next, please. So hopefully we'll be lucky enough down the road to earn your enforcement business. Bar Harbor, Maine, anybody ever been to Bar Harbor? It's a beautiful place. They went from unpaid to paid, and they are making 3 times more revenue than the initial budget the first year. I think I gave that. If you want to forward it, certainly I can get it to you again. They just make a ton of money. But they really love the fact that everything is from one company. So we have a little tab on our handheld for all the paid plates. So that's all available within our handheld. Our permit system, which you're going to roll out as well, is a permit tab in there. So I can look and see, okay, that they have not paid a session, but they are a permit holder, therefore I'm not going to issue a citation. So it makes it easier for everybody within your organization, enforcement people, and anybody. So there's really nice integration in that. So it's cloud-based and is very, very comprehensive reports, there's a nice report writer in there. Great solution. But hopefully, more of that is later. I want to mention that because that is part of the complete infrastructure and hopefully you'll see the value on next slide, please. So this is what you are going to get. The permitting solution allows people to apply for different types of permits online. Or if you wanted, you could allow them to come into City Hall and buy the permit, through City Hall. So that either way, or you could have a little kiosk, self-serve kiosk somewhere, and they can, do it in the City Hall themselves. It is it allows them to actually validate their, for example, say residential permit. You're going to require maybe some form of proof of residency. So maybe a tax bill, water bill, or whatever. They have to upload that. They have to upload a driver's license. So whatever it is, then whoever's approving the permits, they'll go to the back end and they'll see that permit came in, and they'll validate that yes, everything they've done is correct. They'll hit approve. That resident will receive an email. You saw that within a minute or less, saying that the permit has been approved. Click here to pay. So it's a really nice system, and it sends you emails, and you set up automatic reminders to remind them to apply every year or to renew the permits every year. So it's going to really allow people to be self-sufficient, not have to come to City Hall if they don't want. It gives them that independence to manage their permits themselves. Next, please. So third-party integration, you currently have another enforcement solution, and we will be able to pass our payment information to them as well. Let's say you had, you're going to go for an LPR, license plate recognition system. We can pass our plate information from to that as well. So we have an API, and so many the other company plays nice in sandbox. There should be an integration that will be available. Next, please. Credit card processing. We have a very unique offering that we provide to municipalities because of the number of transactions that we generate based on a volume on a local basis. So on debit cards, we can save you a significant amount of money if you use our merchant. So if that is something that is an option, I don't know if we actually went as far as talking to the finance person, but if you do any small ticket transactions today, we can kind of compare what your what the merchant's charging. There's different features of with credit card, depending on if it's a loyalty card or not. Actually, I should rephrase it. It's debit cards only. We can't do anything with credit card, but debit cards would save you, actually 13 cents in fees on each transaction. That's a big savings. I mean, because you're going to have a lot of transactions going through, you get a lot of credit cards going through here, debit cards. So the students using the parents, the parents are funding their savings or checking account. If you're going to, replenishing that, they put the debit card in. We can save a lot of money. So something to consider once you get ready to go live. Then customer service. We are San Diego based. We have support at least by 9 o'clock, and I think usually earlier, East Coast time, going until 8 our time. And we have 24/7 support. So even though there's no one actually in the office, there is somebody will, if you call on a Saturday, somebody will pick up that phone and answer the service, and they will contact the person who's on call, and they will help you out if you have any questions. So it's really nice to have that 24/7 support. So I alluded to this before. We can help you. We are going to help you with digital content to provide. If you want digital content, to put that either in City Hall or in key places throughout the city. You can certainly have digital content here. We can help with. We're certainly going to help with the web page, and I think we're actually going to host that web page for you. So there's all kinds of information. If you can hit the next slide, please. I think the next one shows it. Yeah. So there's an example of, how this works, about the smart meters, how it works, frequently asked questions, surveys, videos, how to use the pay stations, all that will be part of the offering that we'll roll out with. And mechanisms, yeah. So certainly we have these guides that we're working with, I'm doing that, and I don't know who else in the market department, but certainly with people in the city to put together a nice roll. Yeah. If you want to, we help with co-branded press releases too. If you want to have it go to the local TV stations or newspapers. And next. So the investment, right now there's 14 pay stations. We included some spare parts and consumables. Consumables are spare paper, rolls of paper and everything, and some common spare parts. Installation, we'll have people on site to install. And we're going to train in two ways. One is the technician that comes on site to install these, they're going to train the people maintaining them. They're going to kind of go through how to clear a coin GF. If somebody puts in their credit card upside down, what's the best practice to take that out and not ruin the credit card reader? How do you add paper? How do you change paper properly? And then in addition to that, our back end data management system, I showed the mayor and Matt, even we have a video session in our data management system that shows you how to replace the battery, how to replace the keypad, how to replace different components on the device itself. It's very nice. So the marketing we talked about is freight, and then that's the IPS portion of it. And then we're going to, through a subcontractor who we know very, very well, we'll be installing 8 pads. They're going to be flush, and we'll be installing some bollards. And there's his cost for his work, $20,000, and the grand total comes in shy of $150,000. And as I mentioned, Bar Harbor made 3 times what they thought they were going to make, what they budgeted. Hopefully, you'll experience the same thing. But I would suspect that, based on what I've seen of the lots on more than one occasion, you have some pretty high occupancy there. Should be good return on investment. So to summarize, we've been around for a number of years. We are US based. A lot of devices that are connected. Design, engineer, manufactured, supported in the USA. I think that's very, very big. Because these are like a computer, like a car with electronics in it. There's going to be something that's needed. I work for a competitor, and their corporate headquarters are in Milwaukee. The engineering is in India. They use a 3PL for manufacturing. When you think there might be just a few issues with that situation, and also, communication issues will certainly delay some getting this done. So if these, if something goes down, our engineering and manufacturing, they're in the same building, they don't fix it quick. So I've seen the big difference working here for over 6 years. It's been a refreshing experience. Any other questions?
Well, I have one question. How robust are these things? I know we have, everywhere has people who try to break things or hit them or whatever. Is it?
Yeah, I mean, they're
fairly durable. Or?
Somebody, runs into the truck, and you have an issue. A plow runs through, you're gonna have an issue. This is polycarbonate. We actually have a video that shows you. This one they decided to go with us in Baltimore. We ended up using IPS. We have a number of base stations going to Baltimore. It whacked it pretty hard, and it didn't do anything. And I'm not saying that somebody's up with a sledgehammer, they're a 300-pound guy or whatever. It's probably going to cause some damage. But this is solid stainless steel. So up here where you have the snow and the ice and the sand trucks and the salt trucks hitting the bottom of that, hitting the sidewalks, these are not going to rust. That's huge for this area. But, you know, again, you have to plan on that, but again, it's solid, stainless steel, and that, I really appreciate you bringing this up, you're really glad to do that, but it was tough and tough, and it's heavy, it really is heavy, so.
That's not light.
Yeah.
And these things are anchored into 2 feet thick concrete blocks.
But I'm not gonna be still on this.
Nowhere close to it.
Are our parking lots going to be gated?
That's a question.
No, and just to provide some additional context on the scope of the rollout, initially, when we put out the RFP, we were looking for kiosks in all of the downtown lots and all of the downtown on-street spaces, some like 40 or 50 kiosks with a $500,000 bill. Further input from the public, business owners and the parking committee, we scaled that down to what we thought was a workable compromise where we would put kiosks in the city-owned off-street parking lots downtown, but we would maintain all of the on-street spaces as simply 2-hour time limits everywhere within the special assessment district. We worked with the county to make sure that they were comfortable with all this because they will have a few of these kiosks in the public sections of their government center lot as well. But we feel that it's a workable system. It's something that I think everybody can get behind. And just so that the council knows that, you know, we've gotten down to the level of exact locations of where these kiosks are going, in which lots, where the signage is going to be posted. There's 10 downtown and 4 going out at the beach to try and transition to a more parking-based revenue model out there rather than ticketing folks at the gate. So this is a system that's ready to go as soon as the council is comfortable allocating the money for it. And we have ongoing discussions between my department, the mayor's office, the Department of Public Works, Finance, and the police department about some of the logistical questions about who's collecting the money, who's performing maintenance, and all of that. So the system is ready to go. It's just at the council's discretion as to when we pull the trigger.
Do you think the various departments are ready to go?
I think after a few more discussions, we will have a very solid handle on the division of labor for who's doing what and administering the system. And one of the biggest benefits to my mind is there is a tremendous amount of administrative burden that comes with any type of managed parking system. So to have a company that has every single aspect of that incorporated under their one umbrella, whether it be data management, whether it be collections, whether it be enforcement, IPS has that, so it significantly limits the amount of staff time the city has to dedicate towards administering the system. It works as efficiently as possible, it generates revenue. It's always been our intention not to charge any more for parking than is necessary to effectively administer the system, and going with IPS, those administrative costs are kept to a bare minimum.
I just remember some discussion, a few years ago now, it's been about the statement was made that somebody has to pay for parking.
Yep.
Are the users of parking going to pay for parking and pay for maintenance of the parking lots and that sort of thing?
The intention is to have all of the parking related expenses within the footprint of the system, which is essentially the footprint of the special assessment district downtown. To have all of those expenses paid by the users of the system itself. So the people who are actually parking in the lots and the people who are getting tickets on-street spaces because they park beyond the 2-hour limit.
So, and county employees are aware that this is coming and they will pay for parking in the near future?
Yes, yep, the county has been well aware throughout this process, and we've been in discussions with them for over 2 years now. We actually have 2 separate agreements in place with them for the city to assist with enforcement of parking regulations within their government center lot, and for the eventual implementation of this kiosk system in the public sections of that lot.
Okay. Have we made any revenue projections?
We have some revenue projections, but again, it's based largely on what the city is going to charge for permits and for hourly rates. And of course, those are questions that the council will be consulted on before any decision is made.
Is there are there annual fees for this service beyond the $150,000?
There are monthly fees for these. I believe the number is $55 a month per pay station. That covers the charges to Verizon, 4G modems in here, the access to the ability to use our back and data management system, and the ability to call tech support anytime you want, for no additional charge. All that's included.
So is there a contract?
We can provide a contract.
Yeah, we've been working on a contract for the past several months.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that the intent then to have a contract with their vendors? Okay.
Exactly, yep.
And that will include things like level of service and response time, that kind of thing.
Yeah, all the standard provisions that you would expect in this type of agreement.
Okay. Sounds pretty good.
Well, there's a question on the batteries. What's the operational life of them? What would we expect before we need to replace batteries or?
It should be multiple years, and that there's a big battery here. You can actually recharge that. So if for some reason, in December, you're up against the building, you're not getting enough sunlight, it does drain. We provided at least one spare battery, maybe more, I'm not sure. So you could actually take that out and trickle charge that and get it back up to where it needs to be. So they should last multiple years.
Are we gonna have to, status report, I think I missed the presentation, but mechanical end of it. Can we get a status report remotely on these kiosks if there's a fault?
Yeah.
Are we gonna have to go unit to unit?
We can send alerts through email or text. So any meter health, you can get alerts of it. You don't have to do a thing,
Chances are there's a problem, we're gonna find out, people like to tell you about it.
Right.
That'll probably be your.
It sounds like revenue is going to be heavily dependent on enforcement.
Exactly.
If enforcement is done well and frequently, then more revenue will be collected. So I wonder if you mentioned that we have had discussions with the police department. Are they prepared to take on another employee if necessary, or even 2 or 3 employees, considering that this is I guess a 24/7 operation?
I wouldn't say it's 24/7. There will be set enforcement hours, and again, that'll be a decision for the council. But we have had discussions with the police about the necessity of some level of redundancy in our enforcement staffing. Right now, we have 1 full-time park enforcement officer, but of course, if she is on vacation or out sick, there is no real effective enforcement because the police have a number of other priorities that they spend their time on. So in my draft 2022 budget submittal to the mayor's office, I'm requesting additional funding within the parking fund for the hiring of a parking enforcement assistant to add that level of redundancy that I just referenced.
So we'll have at least 2 enforcement.
We'll have at least 2, and then based on operational performance and what we actually observe in the field, if additional staffing is warranted, that will certainly be enough discussion with the mayor and council.
Okay, thank you, man.
Just a stat, if you ever rode this out on the street as well, a well-run parking program can be the 3rd largest revenue generator for municipality. So that's between the parking revenue and the enforcement revenue. So again, you're a long ways from that, but I certainly expect that these will pay for themselves, pay for the additional enforcement person, and provide compliance and turnover as you want.
Well, I can't speak for the rest of the council, but I would be interested in having this system do just that. Pay for itself, pay for the monthly fees that we pay, as well as pay for line striping and resurfacing when the time comes. I would hope we could do all that with this system.
Again, that's what your suggestion, but most municipalities work with consultants.
Okay, good to know.
And one of the recommendations from the parking committee was any revenue generated by the parking system in excess of what is needed to cover its costs would be dedicated towards improvements within the downtown area, so, people see what they're buying.
Very good. Very good.
I think that's what Bar Harbor is doing, pretty sure, a lot of, just now, it's just, you can't just put it, we don't put it in the general fund, it's going to something, to improve, the downtown.
Do we have that fund set up already?
Yeah, the city's parking fund was specifically set up to deal with the expenses involved in administering the special assessment parking district downtown and how to deal.
Right. Okay. So we would continue to use that fund for this additional income.
Correct.
Okay. Good to know. Sounds like you thought about a lot of it, and that's good.
It's been a long process. We've had a lot of questions answered.
Yeah. Thank you.
Would anybody want to try doing a transaction on this?
I don't need to.
I'll show you how it works.
Okay.
So again, as I mentioned, it's, legislate, any button. And then I actually read the instructions. I'm not going to read the instructions, by the way. It says, payment required Monday through Sunday, 2 screens, enter place to start, press any key. Press any key, I'm sorry, press any key for that. That's what it's for here. So I can either enter my plate number, so you'll see the plate dialog box, I'm going to see that on the dialog box come up. I can put on my plate. And then I can hit the OK button. And now it's going to insert payment now, so I either insert my coins, or I'll put in my credit card. And then it falls to $1 an hour, so you can have a minimum amount for credit card, because there are costs associated with this. Maybe using the credit card, $1 minimum. And I can hit the plus or minus key. Back down if I want. Hit OK. And then now it says approved, transaction complete, press OK to print receipt. Now I'm not going to do that because I've already registered my parking receipts. I don't want to waste consumables or throw it out in the street. It's that simple. Now, if I didn't read the instructions and do it the right way, and just put in my credit card, it will then prompt me to it just has me put my plate in, because I've already put the credit card. So now I put in my plate. Okay. And then so I'm done. It's that simple. So for anybody that's going from unpaid to paid, we take a lot of that information factor away. Many other companies have, press this button to start. If you don't follow these sequence in the right order, you have to start over again. And for people that are, maybe rushing or are not used to technology, they get very frustrated with that. And this makes it much easier. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Keeping things rolling, 3.1, discussion of various project updates from Public Works.
We'll run through them fairly quick here, lengthy presentations. I don't know where we left off as far as our road resurfacing last time we met. I believe we had finished Ruger, Adirondack, Bailey, and Palmer. After that, we finished Joyce Court, Lincoln Lane, Marcy, Tremblay, and Hillcrest. Middle next week, we'll be doing the final phase, which will be Riley and Oliver Court. And then I'm going to give you some miscellaneous items here, and then Andrew's going to give you a status report on Cogan Ave. Miscellaneous work we have been working on, comprehensive hydrant flushing flow testing. We probably have about 2 more weeks left to that program. We should be complete, which will be good because it's the most comprehensive plan we've done since I've been here. not only the flushing, but the flow testing. So we've retested every hydrant. Sometime we'll bring in and explain what those numbers actually mean. ADA surfaces, all these streets that we have resurfaced that we've talked about. We are currently, I think we have maybe a dozen more detectable warning surfaces to put down. We're getting close on that. We've been working on going to biodegradable yard waste bags, whether it be the paper or biodegradable looking plastic ones. So that program is working on that. The mayor, myself have been talking about possible changes to the refuse and recycling service, how we can make it better. Also electric fleet options. He's initiated that. We started discussions, started doing research on that. I believe that's all I have. I'm going to turn it over to Andrew right now. He'll give you the status report on Kogan, which is actually the big project.
So over the last 2 weeks, Kogan Avenue has come along pretty far. They've done complete reconnaissance of the road, pulled out all the old asphalt, all the sub base, put under drain in, put all new gravel sub base in, and tomorrow they will start doing slip form for curbing. So by the end of the week, all of the new curbing should be installed, at which point they will start doing asphalt and sidewalks. So we're coming to a close here very quickly. So.
Thanks, folks.
Moving on to item 4, 3.1, draft resolution award of installation and construction of production well number 1. Take a motion to pass this draft resolution to the meeting. Motion by Canales, second by Kelly. Discussion.
So we solicited bids for the installation of a production well at around Mead Reservoir, based on all the test wells that were installed. 2 bids were received, and the low bidder is Lane Christensen Company out of Schoharie, New York, in the amount of $483,000. And we're asking the council to agree to the contract award and authorizing the execution of all necessary documents to award and execute the agreement. The source of funds is capital project H8320.79, which presently has over $800,000 in it. So there's more than enough money to pay for this work.
It's part of a capital project, right?
What's that?
Part of a capital project.
Part of our capital program, yeah. And we're expecting this to be reimbursed under the WIA program that we got an award for. Haven't closed yet on the WIA contract. Those have been delayed because of COVID and all that. But we need to move forward on this. And when that funding comes through, it's a 60% grant plus subsidized interest rate on the balance of the financing.
And when this is completed, it's going to be going online.
Correct. Right. So this is, we'll be drilling the well. And once the well's drilled and all the pump tests are performed and we know the actual yield, our engineers will then be able to size the pump so they can finish designing the rest of the transmission system and energy systems and all that, so that hopefully late winter, early spring, we can put out for bid the construction of the new transmission line to tie into the existing transmission lines that come down from the Mead Reservoir.
How many wells do you anticipate we're going to need to provide the water?
Depends on the yield and what we ultimately end up doing with the Mead Reservoir. Right now, we've been drawing down the Mead Reservoir level because of dam stability issues. If that reservoir system eventually goes offline, we'll need to replace its safe yield, which is close to 2 million gallons a day, which is probably 1,500 gallons a minute or so. We're hoping to get 1,000 gallons per minute out of this well. So from the perspective of replacing the Mead yield, this well would be close to doing it. 2 wells, second well would most likely do it. But keep in mind, we've also got the Westbrook reservoirs and there's Saranac River if we need it. So we're gonna have a lot of options and flexibility depending on what we find for sure with the production well. And then what comes down the pike with infrastructure funding that, the federal government's proposing. So there's big infrastructure programs. We probably will want to get really aggressive with developing full build out of a well field.
Any other questions? If not, we proceed to vote. Roll call, Councilor Canales?
Yes.
Councilor Kelly?
Yes.
Councilor Moore, yes. Mayor Rosenquist?
Yes.
The motion is carried. Move back to the regular agenda. 3.2 discussion, project manager position.
Yeah, this is something we talked about a few months ago with Councilor Moore, but to give you all the background, several years ago, we had some staff reductions and restructuring that occurred throughout the city. At that time, a group of us banded together and formed what's now called the Infrastructure Division. Mike in Public Works, Matt, Community Development, Joe in the Building Inspector's Office, and me with Environmental Services. A lot of the work that was being done by the people whose positions were reduced and departments that were eliminated has been redistributed to mostly within this infrastructure division. Public Works has picked up a lot of work. Community Development has. Joe's picked up some. I've picked up some. We meet weekly to coordinate and collaborate on all the projects and initiatives that we've got going on and to prioritize the work. To make sure we're all on the same page. And our goal is to maintain and improve the city's infrastructure as best we can. We've been doing this for a few years now and we've had some successes and we feel we've got a good grasp on what's going well and on some areas that we'd like to do better for the city. And two general areas that we'd like to improve are, one is managing the variety and myriad of projects that either exist or are continuously popping up. It's a real strain on our resources to handle a lot of project management. And we are also looking to do a better job in providing technical support and project management across the city to all departments. We've been working on this for a number of months, and we're going to be recommending that a position be established to provide that technical support and those project management services. You will see that recommendation in our proposed budgets, so you can get a feel for where the funding is going to be proposed to come from. And we're going to be proposing that the salary for this position be distributed across a variety of budgets and funds. We're expecting some contribution from the general fund, but due to some other financial restructuring that we're looking at, we're expecting it to be general fund neutral and that most of the cost burden will come from the water and the sewer funds. So there's going to be a lot more discussion in detail as we get down the road with our budgets. But to make sure that we're ready to hit the ground running, if the council decides to authorize this position, we need to start the advertising now so that we can develop a candidate pool and start the vetting process. So that if you do approve the position, we're ready to get going with the next infrastructure season when it gets here. So wanted to start laying the groundwork for future discussion and also advise you that we're going to take a little proactive approach on this. We're going to advertise for the type of person we think we're looking for so we can start getting some resumes in and start getting a feel for what kind of folks are out there that would be interested in providing services to us. Typically, when we advertise something like this, it triggers calls from the community, questions to counselors, all those kind of things. So we want to make sure that we're all on the same page as far as what we're doing and why and where we're at in the process. We're not being presumptuous and assuming this is a done deal or going to happen, but we feel it's something that's important to the city and that we're hoping you're going to consider, and we want to make sure we're ready to go if eventually you decide it's something you want to pursue. So.
Any questions? It's fine.
Okay, thank you.
If not, thank you, John.
Hey, Sean.
Okay. Item 5, new business. Business. If not, I don't see anybody for public comment, so we'll pass on that. I guess I would take a motion to adjourn. Motion by Council Kelly, second by Council Moore. All in favor? Aye. Meeting is adjourned.
Thanks, folks.